left side or the right side, then it must be the FinSide. It ain't the left side.
Thank you, Solo D. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide. I am here with Paul Picken, and we are recapping the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots' devastating loss in Week 2 of the season. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and you can download our show on iTunes, on YouTube, or you can send a question to us at hashtag FinSideQ. Paul, a devastating loss here this past week to the New England Patriots. Before we get to that, not many injuries from the game. Arian Foster, listed as day-to-day, may not play this week against the Cleveland Browns. I'll get to why later, why I'm actually glad. Not glad necessarily that he's hurt, but I'm really done with this guy for so many different reasons. Anyway, Paul, it really looks like Arian Foster is going to be the only injury. It looks like he'll be questionable heading into this weekend's game. They're deciding between Jay Ajayi and Kenyon Drake for that starting role in Foster's place. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, Ajayi probably would have been a shoo-in for it if he hadn't had his little hissy fit a couple weeks ago. He really only looked okay in this game. I know we're going to give our grades positionally, but I thought in very limited action, Drake outplayed him. He managed to break away a little bit. I don't think there were huge rushing totals in this game overall. And Miami got way down way early, so it is difficult to tell. But hopefully we'll have Isaiah Pete back to throw into the mix as well. We'll see.
We will see indeed. Isaiah Pete, hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. I'll tell you this right now, based on pure ability, Paul, you can give me Kenyon Drake and Isaiah Pete over Arian Foster and Jay Ajayi any day of the week. Moving on. Yeah, it's something I really wish we didn't have to talk about every week, but we do. Congratulations to Jelani Jenkins for standing for the national anthem, not being a moron, unlike his three counterparts, Arian Foster, Michael Thomas, and Kenny Stills. And now, breaking news, Paul, the Broward County Sheriff's Office is urging police to stop the protection for the Miami Dolphins. What do you think?
I think we're rapidly descending into territory usually held over for The Bachelor on Monday nights. This is getting ridiculous and out of hand. It has nothing to do with football. And, we've had these players talk all the time over the past several years, given the distractions that have occurred that had nothing to do with football. Whether you look at Jonathan Martin, whether you look at any of the different things out there. And now we've got yet another one that doesn't have anything to do with football. And I think Chris Shoshity, when we had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, really hit the nail on the head when he was talking about how you cannot get people to come together by dividing them. And that's 100% true. And we're sitting here watching this. I mean, Arian Foster, he's out of the mix now. So really, we've only got two guys left kneeling at this point. I don't know what's going to happen here. I know Steve Ross has already proclaimed his support, so hopefully we can leave the Browns sideline as the only clown show this weekend instead of having no security on the field and watching the team deal with that.
Yeah, well, hopefully. And unfortunately, it is something we have to talk about because it's something everybody else is talking about, too. My message to the Broward County Sheriff's Office, especially Jeff Bell, bravo. I hope you don't protect the Miami Dolphins on game day. You know why? Because it's a volunteer-based thing. Why would somebody volunteer to protect you when you're protesting against them for things that aren't happening? I'm sorry, but this nonsense about cops shooting unarmed people of color and getting paid, other than media sensationalized isolated incidents, there is no epidemic. Sorry if that hurts your feelings. And why would you defend them? And I'm telling you, this rhetoric, this harmful rhetoric, gets more people in urban communities killed because cops are not going to be running toward those bullets, and it gets more police officers killed. 45% increase this year in murdered police officers. Anyway, that's that. Let's move on to the football game, Paul. I thought, I got to tell you, Paul, when I was driving to watch this game, I was actually feeling really confident. Rob Gronkowski was out, linebacker Dante Hightower was out, and then at the last minute we hear Mario Williams, Arian Foster, and a couple others were going to dress in this game. I was feeling pretty confident up until the end of the first quarter.
I was feeling pretty confident most of the week leading up as well, not just right before. But I just felt like this was a scenario where Miami was going to be able to pull away and do it early. So I got a little confused. All right, Miami went most of the preseason hyping and lauding their hurry-up, no-huddle, Tannehill making the calls at the line offense. They used it in preseason. It worked wonderfully when they did use it with the first-team offense. It looked great. And then they came out in the first half of this game and didn't use it. And then you look at the second half when they came out, hurried up to the line on most plays, really were firing on all cylinders. Tannehill looked crisper, looked more confident in that offense. All I could think is Gase got a little bit of the head coach jitters in terms of the first matchup with Bill Belichick and overthought himself here and didn't run with what works to try to outthink the guy. Went in at halftime, made the adjustments, came out, went with what works for the players, what works for the team, and really it made a difference in that second half. A team that was capless and lost on offense was phenomenal on offense in the second half. They looked lights out.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, Paul. It looked like the coaching staff of last year on both sides of the ball. Offensively, there was no up tempo. There was no huddle. It seems like they were playing scared. And you get to the to the second half where the Dolphins are down by 3 touchdowns, and it seemed then they took the chance to say, you know what, let's spread the field out. Let's get Landry down the field a little more. Let's feature Devontae Parker. And that's what they should have done. Even Jordan Cameron started looking like an NFL caliber tight end in the second half, but it does not make sense. I'm sorry, but football is not that hard offensively. You spread the field out, you identify the single coverages, you take big risks, you throw the ball downfield, and likely good things are going to happen. You look at the Bills and the Jets, that's exactly what they were doing. Protecting the quarterback, looking downfield, bombs away. And until Ryan Tannehill gets there, it's not going to happen. And I don't know how much Tannehill is to blame for that, but they were playing scared offensively and defensively too. I mean, there is no reason that when you're playing the New England Patriots and they're top without Rob Gronkowski and their top 3 options are Hogan, Amendola, and Edelman, who aren't fast, that you play 10 yards off the ball.
No, I agree. There were a lot of mistakes in coverage in this game, and I don't know what Vance Joseph was thinking. I really like the guy. I really respect the guy. I hope he can get it right because, yeah, the Dolphins defense didn't execute at times, but on top of that, they weren't really put in position to execute in this game either. So between both of those factors, it was just an absolute spiral for that defense.
It was really bad. And Vance Joseph, I'm going to take the high road on this when it comes to Adam Gase and Vance Joseph. I'm just going to say this simply. I hope you learned your lesson when you go into New England, because that's not how you play the New England Patriots. And by the time they found out how to play them, the game was too far out of hand. Almost made a comeback. It was exciting in the second quarter, or in the second half, but did not get the job done. Patriots 465 yards of total offense. First 3 drives of the game, 75-plus yards. 21-0 by the time Ryan Tannehill throws the ball 3 times. Offensively for the Dolphins, it was ugly too. Punt. No, not even punt. That's giving it too much credit. 3 and out. Fumble, interception. And the Dolphins were 0 for 4 on third down. Doesn't get the job done. So the more the Dolphins spread the field out, go a little more up-tempo, I hope they continue to do that, starting with the Cleveland Browns this coming weekend. Paul, let's have a look at this. The quarterback position, Ryan Tannehill definitely looked good on the stat sheet. What's your grade for the quarterback spot?
I mean, you would think when you look at it, 389 yards, 32 for 45, 2 touchdowns, you would think it's an automatic A. You really would. If you just looked at the stat lines, you would think that this was an automatic A. Unfortunately, there were a handful of mistakes in the first half by Tannehill. Really, most of them I don't pin on him. There were a lot of times where he hit receivers in the hands when he actually attempted a pass in the first half. But the first half, it was the Dolphins trying to establish the run and just playing scared. I'm going to give him a B-. If I was only grading the second half, he would definitely get an A. But because the first half is mixed in there, I've got to go with a B-, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a C+, and really for a lot of reasons you said. And in fact, I was actually expecting you to give a little bit of a higher grade because of the stat line. I'm glad you didn't know. Again, it did a great job in the second half. But here's the reality when it comes to Tannehill. He only threw the ball 3 times when the Dolphins were up 21-0. But you look at those first 5 or 4 drives. One ended on a pass to Jordan Cameron where he should have let him more. It wasn't a very good throw. Allowed the defender to get in there. There was another one that ended with Ryan Tannehill botching a snap on 4th down. That was a turnover. Another one where Jarvis Landry's wide open in the middle of the field. Instead, he throws a long pass downfield to Jordan Cameron, and that goes incomplete. You know, it's not good enough. But what really puts the exclamation point on it for me, Paul, is really the last series of the game. I mean, the Dolphins get a gift. Stephen Gostkowski misses a 38-yard field goal to ice game, which he never misses. And then the Dolphins get the football. First play, Ryan Tannehill throws a 20-yard pass to Devontae Parker. Instead of going up to the line and spiking the football, which would have killed the clock at about 54 seconds, another 12 seconds drained off the clock. Throws an incomplete pass. The next play, Tannehill drops back, looks, and then takes off, runs downfield, kills another 17 seconds on the clock. And now you've got no timeouts left, and you've got 15 seconds left, and so you're basically just heaving the ball at the end zone now. Those are the games that you are looking for Ryan Tannehill to step up and to make a difference once in a while. He's not going to do it every single time, but and it's hard in that type of game to pin it all on him. But sometimes we have to see a quarterback who's going to take the team on his back, like some of these other younger quarterbacks in the NFL are. Overall, I'm going to give them a C+. Running back spot, Paul, it's kind of like we're having the same conversations as last year. The Dolphins were getting blown out so early that they didn't really have a chance to establish a running game.
No, but I do attribute the running game as well to part of why they weren't able to hang there in the first half. Every time these guys touched the ball, they looked like trash in that first half. Arian Foster couldn't get it going. I know he only had 3 attempts. Jay Ajayi, half the time he just ran into the line and fell over. And Kenyon Drake looked okay when he got a chance, but I don't believe that was until the second half. And on those 3 and outs, that's part of why they have such a low carry total. They were part of the reason why the Dolphins went 3 and out. You said it yourself, Tannehill had 3 pass attempts by the time the Patriots had 3 touchdowns. They were running the ball and not very well. And Tannehill wound up being the leading rusher for this team. I believe he actually had more yards than the other. Well, no, he had more yards than the other 3 running backs did combined. So when you look at that, it's abysmal. And I'm going to give these guys an absolute straight up D-. And I don't feel bad about doing that.
For everything you said, I agree. I'll give him a D. Kenyon Drake, congratulations on his first NFL touchdown. Jay Ajayi, it continues to me to get worse. I mean, the only play the guy made was a first down catch, and I thought it was pretty damn close for him to have his foot out of bounds on that. And for all he knew, I'm sure his foot should have been out of bounds. And then he also had a fumble earlier in the game. Jay Ajayi, 5 carries, 14 yards. When you look back, Paul, at Ajayi in the NFL, his first 2 games, 11 carries for 89 yards. We're getting all excited about him. Since then, 42 carries for 113 yards, 2.6 yards a carry, and 2 fumbles in there as well. Also, doesn't offer anything in pass protection, doesn't offer much in the passing game, even though he did catch a few passes in this game, but not good enough. Again, Kenyon Drake and Isaiah Pete, I'm hoping, start getting the bulk of those carries as the season moves along. Foster's not bad either, but he's, number 1, an idiot, and number 2, hurt all the time, so I'm not sure how long that's going to last. I'll go ahead with a D. The receiving core, Paul, even though they got off to a rough start, second half, they really turned it on.
Yeah, I completely agree there, and I'm going to say something I didn't think I'd say all season here, because I know we love our tight ends, but being with our receivers. Bravo to Jordan Cameron. Deion Sims as well. Suddenly, Miami had tight ends this weekend that could catch the ball. I don't know if Jordan Cameron, I don't know what he did, but he actually looked like the tight end that Miami signed a couple of years ago. You look at Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, there are 2 plays, 1 for each of those guys, outside of the 100-plus yards receiving that they each had. I mean, there were 18 catches, 140 or 243 yards between just those 2 players. But Jarvis Landry tried to make a little too much happen at one point, which, let's face it, you got 6 guys on you and you're at a dead stop. Go down, because now they're not trying to get you down, they're trying to get the ball. And Jarvis needs to learn that it's not the first time it's happened in his career. He needs to learn when to go down. I love the fight. I love that he fights for every yard, but he needs to learn when to go down. He also got away with taking a swipe at somebody when he popped up at one point, and they didn't see it. Second time, recent memory that I can say that happened. He's going to start getting calls for that at some point. The refs are going to start looking for it. He needs to get his head out of his ass and play with a lot of emotion, but learn where and when to contain that. Devontae Parker, I know you talked a little bit about Tannehill on that last drive. I don't 100% share the same viewpoint. I think he did lead them down the field. He did throw the ball up a little bit into the end zone. When you've got a big receiver like Parker, you expect him to make the read and high point it like he has a couple of times already. And I watched Parker on that play. He was struggling to read the ball in the air on that one and stopped, kind of floated one way, got himself turned around, floated the other, and now he's not in position to make a jump that he normally would be able to do and out-jump that defensive back. So those are two mistakes that I would look at with those two. One absolutely killed the drive early. One absolutely killed what could have been it. I'm still going to give these guys a B based on everything else, but there were two game-hampering mistakes out of Parker and Landry.
I think that's fair. I'll go ahead and give them a B as well for those reasons. I don't have a problem with what Tannehill did really on that last drive, except for that first pass to Devontae Parker that went for 20 yards. He should have run up and spiked the ball. Now you got the ball at midfield with 55 seconds left. In that last play of the game, I do put that on Parker. I thought Tannehill put the ball exactly where it needed to be in the back of the end zone. And that's a ball that if Parker were at that spot, he may have been able to box some people out. Kenny still gets into the end zone, somewhat makes up for the embarrassment of last week. But I'll tell you what, it's again, watch the Jets, the Bills, and the Patriots, the way that they played this past week. And you'll say the Miami Dolphins should be doing that exact same thing. So I'll give them a B. I am excited about Devontae Parker. Jordan Cameron did look like an NFL tight end this week. Played well, had one ball that was in the first quarter that was kind of catchable, but I think it was more Tannehill's fault on that too. So 5 catches for 49 yards from Jordan Cameron. That is the highest yardage total Jordan Cameron's had in a game since week 2 against the Jaguars last year when he had, I think, 63 yards. I hope it continues for him. The offensive line, Paul, I'll take this one first. I had zero problem with the offensive line. I thought the pass protection was phenomenal all game. The Dolphins didn't let up a sack. All 5 of those offensive linemen I thought did very, very well. Run blocking, not all that great, but I'm not sure if I can completely pin the blame on them too. They did have a missed snap with Anthony Steen and Ryan Tannehill. I don't know whose fault necessarily that was, but overall, Paul, I like the way this unit is starting to come together. I'm going to give them a B+.
I will say on that Steen botch snap, if you watch back, you see Bushrod is still looking back at Tannehill. Tannehill's still making a few calls. I don't know what happened with Steen there, why he snapped it. Definitely not knocking the kid, like you said. The pass protection was phenomenal. The run blocking was okay, not great, obviously, based on some of the returns in terms of statistics. But I'm going to go with a B+ here, mainly because they were able to keep Tannehill clean all game. And they really do need to pick up that run blocking. But again, keeping Tannehill clean, allowing no sacks, that's not something we see very often, let alone against a playoff caliber team like New England.
Moving to the defensive side of the ball, where it was an absolute train wreck in the first half. The defensive line, I swear, I was so when the Dolphins were getting crushed in the first quarter, I keep looking on the field and I'm like, I don't see Cameron Wake. I don't see Ndamukong Suh very often. I barely see Mario Williams out there. These are the guys that the Dolphins paid to be on the field. And to me, very, very good showing in the first week against the Seattle Seahawks. Not a very good showing here in week 2.
Yeah, Julius Wormsley, I thought, played well when he got out there. I saw exactly what you did, which was, I think it was that first drive. Suddenly you see Chris Jones out there nonstop. You see Terrence Fede out on the field a lot. You start looking around, it's like, I don't understand why Chris Jones is playing. I understand Miami utilizes their depth a great deal on the defensive line, but you've got to utilize your starters too. And I didn't see them doing that, just like you. And then once they did get in there, they were already in a hole and in a rough spot with that. So, God, I've got to give these guys a C because LeGarrette Blount ran all over them, and they didn't get to the quarterback nearly as often as they should have.
I'll give him a C- for a lot of the reasons you said. Cameron Wake in this game, Paul, played 16 snaps. And one of those snaps, he got a sack that was taken back because of a defensive holding call. I understand when the Patriots are running the ball more, Wake's not going to be on the field as much. But as Jimmy Garoppolo's moving down the field further and further, just drive after drive after drive, you got to get Wake on the field. Instead, Jason Jones was the guy on the field for the most part. Not acceptable. I thought Suh, as much as I love him, was visible here in this, at least the first 2 quarters in the game too. Yeah, LeGarrette Blount ran right down their throat, and besides Jason Jones, Nobody had a sack or much pressure from the defensive line. I'm going to give them a C-. Looking at the linebacker unit, Paul, this is an easy grade for me. It's a big fat F. I thought for everything they did well in the first game, they did not look good in this game whatsoever. Kiko Alonso, just a rough game. He is so hit and miss. I don't even know where to begin. Can look great. It really adds a lot of speed to the middle of the defense, but did not get the job done in this game. In fact, he actually blindsided Jimmy Garoppolo on a sack attempt and couldn't bring him down. A linebacker blindsiding a quarterback who's not even that big. Kolomisi wasn't on the field much because of the 3 wide receiver sets. Jelani Jenkins has just been invisible this year, especially in his contract year. Paul F., I think this was the most pathetic performance from the linebackers I've seen in a while, and that's saying much given how bad they were last year.
I did have a lot of problems with how the linebackers played in this game. I'm not willing to go down to F territory, but I'm hovering between a D+ and a C-. There were a few blitzes where Kiko did get some good penetration. Like you said, he did have that one where he hit him and should have taken him down. He had the play where he knocked Garoppolo out of the game. There were some plays where I saw Kiko and Jelani in the right positioning in the zone scheme, but the Patriots did what the Patriots do and found those holes in that zone and just sat down in them. And Garoppolo made some phenomenal reads. I will say that. But they were not put in position to succeed. And I put a lot on Vance Joseph's shoulders because the schemes that he was running this week, they're not going to hold up against the Browns, let alone the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So you give him a C-, I give him an F. The defensive backs, and as bad as the defensive backs are, Paul, and I do think they're pretty bad. Hopefully Chris Culver can come back at midseason and make some sort of improvement. And I think Xavier Howard has potential, but it doesn't matter who we have out there when you're playing the Patriots and you have these defensive backs so far off the ball. I'm very disappointed in Vance Joseph this game on how he coached and game planned for this. Even when Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, you have Jacoby Brissett in there. On third downs, you can't even. Jacoby Brissett is just dumping the ball off for first downs. What are you so afraid of? I don't understand. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what Kevin Coyle's been doing for the last few years. Just not good enough. And Byron Maxwell definitely had a game to forget. I think he's been pretty good since he's been here. Let's hope that continues. Xavier Howard, Michael Thomas, Bobby McCain, played too far off the ball and could not make it up. It wasn't good enough. Garoppolo just put on a clinic in the first quarter. Rashad Jones and Issa, still I can't see either one of them had a great game either, but the cornerbacks are where I place most of the blame on. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a D.
Yeah, I'll give them a D+, but with the caveat that, like you said, Vance Joseph, again, in this position group did not put them in position to succeed. It's rough and it feels rough giving the secondary a D+ when those corners forced 3 fumbles. Yeah, and they were ones where they punched or ripped the ball out. But they just couldn't get it done in this game, and they weren't in position to succeed in this scheme. It wasn't good. I think of all the coaches that outcoached themselves this week and didn't even let Belichick outcoach them, I think Vance Joseph's sitting right there at the top of the list, one above Adam Gase.
The drive that infuriated me the most was, it's 24-3 coming out of halftime, and then the Patriots get the ball back. First play, they threw a tight end screen. Just drop back, nothing fancy. Just dump the ball off to Bennett. He rumbles ahead for 30 yards. They get down in field goal range. They get a holding call, and then the next play, Jacoby Brissett just drops back, throws the ball out in the flat, or excuse me, it's a tight end screen. 17 yards. They get right back at 2nd and 3, and then they end up getting a first down, and eventually Blunt rumbles into the end zone for a touchdown. Oh man, that was a killer, and it was really at least at the time, the nail in the coffin. So yeah, it's not good enough. So moving on to the last position, Paul, special teams.
Well, we didn't really force very many punts in this game, or at least not early on. So I think Matt Darr had a phenomenal game, showed a lot of stamina, especially in the first half, considering he was on the field almost as much as anybody. But yeah, I'm frustrated as hell with all the facets of the game here. I think there were a few. I think there was an attempted return by Kenyon Drake. Or no, not by Kenyon Drake.
Jakeem Grant, I think.
Jakeem Grant, yes.
Was it? Yeah.
There was an attempted, they were bubbling the ball in the end zone. It wasn't good. Franks redeemed himself, at least this week. But beyond that, there's not much I could say other than Dar had a great game. Good for him. I'll give him a B- because we need to see the return game start stepping up, especially when the offense and defense are struggling.
Yeah, I'll give him a B- too for all the reasons you said. Dar was good. Franks hit the kicks he needed to hit, and he put the ball through the end zone. Yeah, Jakeem Grant, he's got to, I take back what I said last week. Grant has to realize that when he can and can't come out of the end zone, and he missed. He made 2 mistakes back there. One time it resulted in the Dolphins getting the ball at the 9-yard line. I mean, the 9-yard line instead of 25 is a major difference. I say the hell with that anyway. Just start at the 25-yard line every time. Get rid of kick return, period. That'll do it for our grades. Paul, who was your stud in this game? Who's the one that really stood out for you?
This is probably going to upset a few people when I say this, based on Dolphins Twitter and what have you. But I have to, for the second week in a row, go with Tannehill. Do I think he's the greatest of all time? No. But the way he stepped up, the way he executed that offense in that second half is what brought this team back into it. He showed a lot of leadership and a lot of guts in that second half to help try to drive down that field repeatedly, put the ball in some amazing locations on some of those throws, and give the Dolphins a chance to win it. Did they pull it out? No. But at least he put them in a position to do so at that point. And he's got to be my stud of the game here, which was hard to find in this game.
Paul, my stud's going to be Jordan Cameron. I mean, even though 5 catches for 49 yards, I thought he blocked well. I thought he finally started to get some positive momentum going. And at 6'5", 250 pounds, if he can play like he did there, this guy is a weapon. Now, I don't know if he's going to continue that or not, but really good 20-yard touchdown where Tannehill just buried the ball in there. Cameron came down with it. So hopefully now he has some momentum going in the right direction. Because if that's the case, then when you combine Devontae Parker, Jordan Cameron, and Jarvis Landry, and then throw some Kenny Stills, Leonte Carew, and some of these other running backs in there, you have a lot of options, especially if the pass protection's as good as it was in this game. So as far as my dud for the game, I'm going to go ahead with mine first. I'm going to give that to Vance Joseph. He looked very Kevin Coyle-like in this game. I thought the game plan was completely flawed. I never understand ever why you go into New England and let them dink and dunk their way down the field. They will do that all day, every day. Just the chunk yards, the 15, 20, 25 yards at a time, I just couldn't take it for the first quarter and a half. Eventually, it's what did the Dolphins in. So who's the one that stood out to you, Paul, for the wrong reasons?
You absolutely took who I was going to go with here. But I'm going to stick in the same vein, at least, in the interest of going with somebody different. I'm going to go with Gase here, and mainly because of some of the reasons I referenced earlier, where they set things up to be that quick up-tempo, get back to the line of scrimmage, adjust a little bit, have Tannehill make a few calls, and keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And they overthought themselves and came out slow, trying to overthink it, trying to be different, which, let's face it, you're a team that don't have any trends yet because you only had one game under your belt. You're not bucking your trends to throw off Bill Belichick at that point when you don't have any on paper yet. Go with what you know works and then adjust from there if it doesn't. It's not that hard. And Miami got away from it, and you saw when they went back to it, that defense could not stop it in the second half. So I've got to give it to Gase here. As bad as the defense was, he did dud out the offense.
Yeah, hopefully the Dolphins can get back on the on track next week against the Cleveland Browns, where we'll be facing rookie third-round pick Cody Kessler out of USC. And I was shocked Cody Kessler went higher than the 6th or 7th round. Hopefully the Dolphins can get right back on track. Follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes as well as YouTube, and tweet us your questions with hashtag FinSideQ, FINSIDEQ. And like Brian Miller used to say, if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the fin side. Solo D, take us home.
It ain't the left side or the right side, and it must be the fin side. Inside. It ain't the left side or the right side, and it must be the fin side.
Listen, Dolphins fans across the
the land all tuning in to see what Brian, Cat, and Paul about to do again. We rep our team, you can't change, stop or ruin it. All we need is to figure what to do to win. Fins Radio, live and direct. Win or lose, we showing up for every contest. No puppet talk, it's all raw and unfiltered. Voice of the fans when the season looks peculiar. Rockin' apple orange over here, then you familiar. Every week they coming through our speakers to fulfill the crave we have to hear about our team and all the latest news. Vets the rookies trying to make the team, paying dues. Current players and alumni interviews. City to city, state to state, follow the moves. Call the hotline, Dolphins talk set to go. Best sports team and show all across the globe. It ain't the left side or the right side, and it must be the